It's your open source advocate, and I'm back with another video, and today we're going to talk about pangolin and tunneling your traffic. If you're asking yourself what in the world does that mean, it means we want to secure the services that we run from home so that we can access them securely when we're not at home. It's not as complicated as it's been in the past, and Pangolin makes it even easier. If you've ever heard of Cloudflare tunnels, Cloudflare offers this service. It's mostly free. And I say mostly because they have rules and regulations about what you're allowed to tunnel and what you're allowed to serve out and how much traffic you're allowed to have, things like that. And if you're within that and it works for you, that's great. But if you've been thinking, I'd rather do this myself and not have those limitations, then this is the video for you for sure. If you've been watching any of my other videos and you've heard me talk about having a reverse proxy and accessing your stuff securely from outside your network and talking about VPNs and Netbird, this is a video for you if you're wondering how to get that set up in a lot easier way. I think this is going to be the one that you really like. I'm probably going to move all of my services over to this as well. And I just want to show you how great this is and how easy it is to get it set up. So we're going to get into it right after this. This video is sponsored by me. That's right. Did you know that I wrote a novel? I did. And it's a science fiction novel. It follows a guy named Dave, who's a pretty normal guy with a normal job, who happens to fall into a little bit of a less normal job, but doesn't realize it. He goes on some incredible adventures. He has some really cool things that he has to get done. It's just a passion project. I think you're going to love it. It's an action. It's an adventure. It's just so much fun. I understand if you don't want to do Patreon or PayPal, but maybe you'd like to get something out of some money that you're donating back to me. So by buying a book, you're paying me back. And at the same time, you're getting something out of it. You can jump over to Amazon. I'll have links in the description. You can jump over and get the ebook, the paperback, or the hardcover. I'll have links for as many countries as I can get links for, so no matter where you are, you can get a copy of the book. It is English only. It has not been translated. I just do want to put that out there. But I hope you'll get it. I hope you'll enjoy it. And let me know that you enjoyed it as well. Now let's get back to the program. When we talk about a tunnel, we want to talk about something like this. We've got the internet. So you make a request through the internet and it comes in and it says, hey, I see where that needs to go, and it comes to your ISP modem, let's just say. So this has a public IP address, and then it comes in here to your home router. So this says, okay, I'm going to pass that along, and your router has to say, you know what? I've got a firewall, but I'm going to allow traffic through 80 and 443. Those two ports are open. So it's going to pass that along to a reverse proxy running on some kind of VM or server inside of your network. The reverse proxy is going to say, okay, do I have that address in my list? If I do, I'll send it, if it's the right one, I'll send it here. If it's a different one, I'll send it here. If I don't have it at all, I'll send it off into nowhere. So the reverse proxy kind of helps act like a traffic cop a little bit. But the problem is you have to open up firewall ports on your home router, and this is not a great security practice. Now, the other problem is ISPs a lot of times don't even allow you to have traffic coming in. Either they don't give you an IPv4 address that's public, or that IPv4 address changes all the time if it is public, or they block ports 80 and 443, so you can't easily do this. So there's a lot of different reasons why these things are a little bit harder. What we want to do is, instead of going through all these steps to get here, we want to run a server out on the internet, and it would be basically this, and we're just going to click this guy, and we're going to go right here and say, here is our Pangolin server. And we want our request to go from the internet to this server. And then we want that request to get forwarded from the Pangolin server to our services. It's really that straightforward. And what we're doing is saying we're just going to bypass all these things. We're just going to tunnel right through Pangolin right here into our services. We don't have to go through all of these things because they're just in the way and they're extra steps, and it actually creates some security problems along the way. This gives us a much more secure way to do it because this request to Pangolin is going to be HTTPS, so it's encrypted. This traffic is going to be HTTPS because it's through a WireGuard tunnel. And then these guys going back are also encrypted. So it's really a nice, easy way to get this set up. And really Pangolin acts as our WireGuard start point. It acts as our reverse proxy, and it really acts as kind of our gatekeeper. So it kind of takes on these three things all in one piece, which is really, really awesome. And again, it lets us keep these ports closed on our home router to keep our home network secure. I know a lot of you like to see how something works before I tell you how to get it installed, so we're going to go through that really quick. I've got a system set up here, and I'm using the domain sysmainit.com. I own that domain, sysmainit.com. I created an A record to point pang.sysmainit.com to my Pangolin server. I'll show you the other A record that we have to create here in just a little bit, but I created a wildcard A record that also points to this server. The wildcard record is *.sysmainit.com. When I say asterisk, I literally mean like the little star symbol, okay? That points to this server as well. What happens is Pangolin knows, hey, when I get hit on pang.sysmainit.com, and this is based on the way that we run the setup script, I need to bring you to the admin console or the admin interface and ask you to log in, which I've already logged in and authenticated here. If it gets anything else .sysmainit.com, it says, oh, you're trying to get to a different service. Let me run you through the reverse proxy side of what I'm doing here. So there's kind of two things we need to set up for our DNS records, and we'll go through that. But just understand that that's how this functions. So once I set this up, it asks me to create an organization. An organization is just a set of services or servers that you're going to group together, essentially. So we've got the server admin stuff here, and we'll go through that in a little bit. But my organization, I just called it home stuff because I'm accessing something at my home. Now, when I set this up, I set up the server. Then you need to set up some kind of ingress point inside of your network. So it's just like a tiny Incus VM or a Docker container or even the server system you're sitting in front of. It doesn't really matter. But I installed a little program called Newt, and I created this site, basically, so what they're calling a node or a site, okay? This, I call it home ingress. And once I create this in this Pangolin admin interface, I grab the Newt configuration from it, I paste it in once I've got Newt installed on my little server, and I hit enter. And it runs this thing for me and gets me up and running so that I can actually have this connected. So my internal server here is now connected to the Pangolin server. And all this is doing is saying, hey, we're going to create a tunnel from Pangolin to the inside of your network. So this is just acting like a little tunnel. This can be the same machine where you're running all your other services, or it can be separate machines on your network like I have. It's completely up to you how you do that. But you just need this little one endpoint that's running something that'll let Pangolin tunnel in. In this case, this is a program called Newt. It's one that they run and one that they suggest because it's made to run with Pangolin and create these tunnels. So I'll show you how to get it installed. It is very, very, very straightforward. Once we've got that tunnel up and running, we can start adding our resources. This is the thing that we want to access inside of our network. So in this case, you can see I'm accessing it through the home ingress piece. So I could have multiple different ways of doing this. I could add more than one. I could have 3 or 4 inside of my network, and I could pick which one I want to use to access certain things to kind of keep things separated if I want to, and have permissions for my different users that may be accessing things. And you can put user credentials in front of any site. So for instance, I use homepage here. It doesn't have its own user credentials, but using Pangolin and using this server, I can put my Pangolin credentials in front of it so that if I'm trying to access it away from home, I can log in and see this, but anybody else who tries to hit this would have to have my login credentials to see my homepage site. So it's really, really cool in the way that it functions. Now, last week I set up a thing called a redeck, and that was a replacement for Pocket that Mozilla is closing down. Not Mozilla itself, but the redeck, the Pocket software in Mozilla, they're shutting it down. And it just lets you do kind of a read it later. And you can see here inside of Pangolin, I just set it up as read.sysmainit.com. I click on it, and it takes me right to my redeck service, which is awesome. And now I can go in here and I click into the things that I want to read. So if I want to read this one, it'll take me to this stuff, and I can start looking at, hey, what do I need to look at? And I can see the information that I want to see very quickly, and I can go through the stuff that I want to read. But I can access all of my different stuff through here, which is really great. And it just opens up in a new tab here, so I can just close that tab and I'm back at my Pangolin server. But this gives me a way to create a reverse proxy to access my services from outside of my network, and I can tunnel that through the internet. So this is a very fast overview of how Pangolin functions. We're going to get into the setup a little bit more in just a little while, but first let's just go through the installation because I want to show you how quick and easy that is. All right, I'm logged into my DigitalOcean. So I use DigitalOcean and I use RackNerd. I use both of those for my virtual private servers. And just full disclosure, in my description down there, I have links that'll get you credits for DigitalOcean. It'll take you to RackNerd to sign up. I get affiliate money if you do that. And it just pays for more space in those systems. So if you do that, it helps out the channel. It helps me out. If you don't want to use it, it's fine. There's Linode, there's Hetzner, there's all kinds of different VPS providers out there. Feel free to use the one you like the most. I just happen to like this. I think DigitalOcean is very easy. But this is the server. This is that Pangolin server we were just looking at. So I called it Pang Proxy. So I'm going to go over here. I'm actually just going to delete that guy because we're going to start fresh. And we're just going to go here. We're going to say destroy. I'm going to tell it to destroy the droplet. And it's going to ask me to type that in. Pang Proxy. No, Pang. It won't do it if I don't type it right. Dash Proxy. There we go. We're going to destroy that and it's going to be gone. So now if I go back to this page and I hit refresh, it's going to try for a minute. It's going to be like, hey, something's not working, and it's just going to give up here in a minute. So it's trying to refresh. It's not going to work because it's not actually there anymore. So if I actually try to go to read.sysmainit.com, that's also not going to work because my proxy is not there anymore. So it's trying and it's not even getting redirected to HTTPS like it should. So that proxy is down. So we're going to go back through and we're just going to set it up new. So in DigitalOcean, you can do create droplet. That's what they call their servers. And it's a very similar thing in most of the other ones. I'm just going to pick New York. You should pick somewhere that's physically close to you. I'm right in the middle of the United States, so New York, California doesn't matter. I'm going to pick a Ubuntu server, and I'm just going to pick a 2404 because that's long-term support. And I'm going to go with basic, and down here I'm going to click on regular, and that drops the price. So it was on this one. So these are the prices $1 more. If I go to this one, it's $2 more. So I'm just going to go here to the regular. I'm going to get the $6 droplet here. That's plenty. And we're going to go to, I don't need to enable backups. I'm going to do SSH key. So if you don't have SSH keys in your DigitalOcean, I highly recommend you upload them. This is just my public key, so it's okay that you can see that. Don't worry about it. A lot of people kind of send me a message later like, hey, we saw your keys. No, it's just the public key. Don't sweat it. I'm going to pick those right there. I'm going to click on create. I should have given it a better name. Let's see. It's going to give me just a jacked up name here, but that's okay. I'm going to destroy this thing when it's done because I want you guys to be able to see everything, and I don't want to have to hide, any kind of weird stuff that's going on, passwords, keys, anything like that. If you see them, it's okay. I'm going to destroy this when we're finished with the video, and I'll recreate it for me to use as a production system. So it just takes a second. You can see it spinning up that server, and it's done. And I've got this public IP address, so I'm going to copy that. And what I need to do is I need to go out and actually set up my DNS. So in this case, I actually use Hover for this domain. I haven't set it up in my Technetium yet, so I'm going to go to Hover and I'm going to log in. And on Hover, I just come into my sysmain IT system here, and I'm going to go to my DNS. And you'll see I've got these two entries already created. So I've got this asterisk, which is pointing at the old IP address. So first I'm going to edit that one. And I'm just going to put in that new IP that I copied just now. Let's see, let's go copy it, make sure we get the right IP address. Yes, there we go. And I'll paste that, there we go. I'm going to hit update, so it's going to take about 5 minutes to go live. And then I'm going to go find my other one, which is this one right here, this which is my main system here. Let me see, there should be one called Pang. Oh no, yeah, 142. Yes, so those are the same. So let me I could just set that one and set it as a CNAME, and that'd probably be easier, but that's okay. We're going to do that, and then right here for Pang, I'm just going to change this one as well. So that's going to be, in fact, I'll change this to Pango. I can't. It won't let me change it, so let's just delete it. It's going to confirm. And we'll actually add a new record as well, so you can see how that kind of works. It's similar on every registrar. It's a little different, but it's very similar. So I'm going to tell it what I want to solve. Something.sysmainit.com. So let's just call this proxy.sysmainit.com is what it's going to be. I'm going to give it the IP address that we just gave it. It's an A record, and I'm going to change this to 5 minutes, so we don't have to wait quite so long. So that should be set. So we're going to go to proxy.sysmainit.com when this is ready. Yeah, that should be good. That's our A records. So we're setting up 3 A records, and really just 2. The at record doesn't have to point there, but I figured why not. So we're going to do the asterisk, which says anything.sysmainit.com should go to this server. And then specifically, I want proxy.sysmainit.com to go to that server for sure, because that's going to be how we access the admin console. So now I'm going to open up my shell here, and I'm going to do SSH root. In this case, I have to start with root, and then I'll create a non-root user. And I'm going to paste in that IP address. And I'm going to type yes because I trust the fingerprint. And we are into that server. Now we could change the host name and things so it's not so ugly, but it's okay. Like I said, it's just a test server. First thing we want to do on any time we do this is do apt update 2 ampersands apt upgrade -y. This will take just a second, so I'll have my editor skip ahead, but it does take a second for these upgrades to run, but it's always good to upgrade your system first thing before you do anything else. Okay, the upgrade finished and I was watching, so it installed a new kernel, so I'm going to reboot it in just a second as well, but first I'm going to add a non-root user, so I'm not logging in as root to do the rest of this. So I'm going to do add user, and then the username I want. So in this case, it's Brian. So I'm going to say add user Brian. It's going to ask me for a password for that user, so I'm going to give it a nice strong password here. And then I'm going to fill these out. It's nothing yet to fill out. You can do it if you want to. I'm going to hit Y, and I'm good. So I've got Brian added, but Brian is not a sudo user yet, so we need to add him to the sudo group. So we're going to do user mod space hyphen little a capital G space sudo. That's the name of the group we want to add Brian to. If you're on Red Hat, Fedora, CentOS, then instead of sudo, you would type wheel instead. So that's the super user group on those systems. But in this case, I'm on Ubuntu. So if you're in Ubuntu, Debian, any of those spins, you want to use sudo. And then you want to type in the username that you're putting into that group. In this case, it's Brian. So now I have Brian added to the sudo group, and I want to log out and log back in as Brian. Now, if you're doing this on DigitalOcean and you're using your SSH keys, there's one more step you'd need to do because it doesn't have the SSH keys for Brian. It has them for root in this case. So I just need to copy those over. So I'm just going to do cp-r.sh to /home/Brian and then an // there. And then I'm also going to change the ownership with a -R to Brian Brian of /home/Brian. So I own everything in my home folder, and that includes the SSH keys that I just moved over there. So I'm just going to clear that out. I'm going to do a sudo reboot, even though I don't need sudo. That'll reboot the server to get the new kernel version to take effect, and I'll be able to log back in as Brian. So I can go here, and instead of root, I want to do Brian at that address, and I should be able to hit it by IP address now since I have in fact we did what, proxy.sysmainit.com, and that should let me access it because I have that pointed to the IP address. So we'll give it just a few seconds here to finish rebooting. It usually takes about 20 to 30 seconds, and it should be back up. Let's give it a try. It doesn't like that because I've gone to proxy.sysmainit.com before from a different server, so that's okay. We'll just get rid of it, and we'll try that again. There it is. Yes, I trust it, and it should just log me in with the keys, and it did. That's awesome. So we're back in the system, and now I'm here as a sudo user. So the next step we want to do is we just want to be ready to run the script and fill in all of the information that's going to ask us for, and the script is really straightforward. So if we jump back over to our browser, I've actually got the instructions already open, and I'll have links for all of these things in the show notes. So definitely go down to the description, click on the link for the show notes, and you'll have step-by-step of everything I'm doing. And you can just copy paste a lot of the commands if you want to. Just make sure you understand what the commands are doing. I try to explain that as we go along. So first thing we're going to do is get the quick install script right here. So I'm just going to grab this. I'm going to copy it, and I'm going to go back to my terminal. I'm going to paste it in. And it's just going to, what this is going to do is going to use wget. It's going to basically call it installer, and it's going to say, hey, go out to GitHub, grab the latest version that we've got here for Linux, and it's going to grab the x86-64 version, which is what I'm on, and it's going to, and there are other versions if we need it, so it's checking to see like what version does it need. It's going to download the proper version, and it's going to change that thing to be executable, and it's going to say just make it ready. So we're just going to grab that. And there it is. And if we do an ls, we'll see there it is. There's the installer. So we did that step. Really easy, right? Next thing is we're just going to say run this installer. You need to run it as root, so we got to run sudo. So we're just going to copy that again. Go back, Control-Shift-V like Victor for paste. And I'm going to put in my super user password. It's going to ask you a few questions. So this is why we need to have those domains and everything already set up. So we want the base domain. So this is sysmainit.com. Okay, Okay, sysmainit.com. This is my base domain. You want to use the domain that you own and that you're setting this up for in this case. And it says enter the domain for the Pangolin dashboard. So how are you going to access that admin console? So mine's going to be proxy.sysmainit.com. Now it tries to guess that you set it up as just pangolin.your domain. If it did, you can just hit enter because it'll take this as the default, but in my case it's different, so I want to type it out and make sure it's got the correct one. And then it wants to know what's the email address for Let's Encrypt certificates. So I'll give it my email and hit enter. And it's going to ask, do you want to use Gerbil to allow tunneled connections? And I'm going to say it's defaulted to yes, so we can just hit enter. And then it's going to say admin user configuration. So we need to set up an admin user. So I'm going to set myself up again as Brian at fixitdelrio.com. If you have an email of admin at sysmainit.com, or yourdomain.com, go for it. But in my case, I'm going to do it this way. And a password. So I don't remember if it shows the password or not, but don't worry about it. Again, we're going to delete this after the video, so it's fine. Okay, type in your password twice. It does not show it apparently. And let's see, it's not happy. Oh, a special character. Okay, I've got to have a special character in there. I didn't have one. I like that they kind of try to check and make sure you're putting in a pretty decent password there. Disable sign up without an invite. Do you want to allow people to sign up without an invitation? So in this case, if you don't want them to, you would leave it at default as yes. So I'm just going to hit enter. Disable users from creating organizations. Do you want your users, if you have more than one user, be able to create more than one organization to add groups of computers or systems or services to? If you don't want them to be able to do that, you need to type in yes. If you do want them to be able to do that, you can just leave it on the default. So it says disable users from creating organizations. So if I want to disable them from that, I need to type yes. If I don't mind that they can do it, just leave it as default. And it's just me, so I don't mind. Enable email functionality, and this is up to you. You need to know your SMTP details in order for this to work. So make sure you have those things ahead of time. I'll do it just so that you guys can see it. So I'll say yes. Let's enable email functionality. It's going to ask me for my host, which is smtp.purelymail.com. 587 is the correct one, so we'll leave it on that. And the username, I'm going to put myself. And the password. Now, after you put in the password, it's also going to ask you for a no reply address. You can use your address or you can use the no reply. I just type in no reply at this. It's fine. And then finally, you're going to have this one where it's going to say if Docker is not installed, it's going to tell you, hey, it's not installed. Do you want to install it? In this case, yes, you would want to install it. So just leave it on the default. If it's already installed, it will detect that and it won't try to install it again. So don't sweat it. And then it's going to start. So it's just going to run through. There's going to be a lot of stuff going on. Again, I'll have my editor start skipping through this. That way she doesn't have to try to follow the password all the way up the screen, hopefully. Okay, that took maybe 20 seconds. It doesn't take very long, but it's going to it may warn you about the VM guest. Don't sweat that. It's just about because of the way that we're running. It says Docker service was started successfully. That's good. Waiting for Docker to start. Docker's running. So it's doing these checks as it goes along, and this is going to get here and it's going to say, okay, everything's up to date there. Are you ready to start actually running the containers for this project? We're going to say, just again, default is yes, so we can just hit enter. It's going to go out and pull down all of the stuff that we need for Pangolin. So just be patient while it goes and grabs that and extracts it. It's going to start up the containers, and you can see it here that it says created, waiting, created. So once it's got everything up and running, it'll stay created and started, and it should just let us get back to the prompt. And there it is. Let's see, it's asking, would you like to install CrowdSec? Now I'm going to leave this up to you. If you don't know what CrowdSec is, I would keep it at no. If you know what CrowdSec is and you like it and you don't mind tuning it and making it work, feel free to put yes. If you're using something like traffic as well, feel free to put yes. But in my case, I'm going to leave it as no for now. It's a nice little security feature, but it can also be a real pain if you're not used to it. And then it's going to tell you installation complete. So we should be up and running, and we should be able to reach that through our browser. So we're going to go back to our browser, and we're going to go here, and we're going to put in proxy.sysmainit.com. And you can see we are brought to the Pangolin login page. So I'm going to put in the user and the email I created. And it wants us to create a new organization, so I'll blow this up a little bit for you guys that are on your mobile devices there. So first thing, organization. So again, home-stuff works just fine. It's going to put an organization ID of home stuff, so it's up to you how you want to type that out. And then we're going to just say create organization. Now, the site. This is the site where you're going to run the Newt installer. So we're going to get into that next. But what you want to have is some machine inside of your home network or whatever network, your business network, whatever local network you're putting this, wanting to tunnel to. You want to have a device inside of that you can use for the tunnel to get to the services running inside that network. So we're going to get that set up in just a second. We don't have that server set, so we'll go through and set that up first, and then we'll get this thing set up to point to it. So we're going to get into that right now. Now, to get our Pangolin server to work inside of our home network, we need to have some machine inside that network that can reach out and create that tunnel with the Pangolin server. So in my case, I'm just going to create a tiny little Incus container. This could be a LexC container, a LexD container, a virtual machine, a Docker container. It's up to you, and it depends on the hardware you have as to what you're going to do, but I'll show you how to do it here. And if you're doing a VM or a LexC, LexD, this is going to be exactly the same. If you're trying to do it with Docker, you'll have to check out their documentation, but I feel like this was very, very easy to do it this way, so kind of consider this way if you haven't already, if you've got access to those types of technologies. So we're going to go here, and I'm going to just say create a new container, and I'm just going to call this Newt node. How about that? And then the description is my Newt ingress point. And it's going to be a container, and I'll do just a straight up Ubuntu Noble here. And bridge profile is just adding that to my network. And then I'm going to tell it, yes, I want it to auto start. And then over here, I'm just going to tell it, just in case, I'm going to say nesting is allowed in case it needs something where it needs to nest a virtual machine inside of it. I'm going to say create. It's going to take just a second. There it is. I'm just going to check the box, and I'll click on start this guy up. And it should give me an IPv4 address here in just a second. I'm going to go back and open up another terminal, and I'll make that full screen. And we'll need that here in just a minute. I can't access it quite yet, but we'll be able to in just a minute. While that's starting up, I can actually jump into it. I'm just going to click here. I'm going to go over here to the console, or actually the exec console, and I'm going to jump into it. And the first thing I'm going to do is update it and upgrade it. So apt update, 2 ampersands, apt upgrade -y. And it's always valuable to do this, like I said before. All right, those upgrades ran. So very quickly, I'm just going to create a non-root user with sudo privileges again. So we'll do add user Brian. Give Brian a password, confirm it, and then just if you want to enter all that, you can. Otherwise, you're good. Now we're going to do user mod hyphen little a capital G sudo group Brian, just like that. Now Brian's part of the sudo group, and I can log in once I add a few things. So Incus containers, LexC, LexD, these are little tiny virtual machines with almost nothing in them. They're basically run the Linux kernel and a little bit of stuff on top of it, but that's it. So I need to add a few applications to make sure it's usable here in a minute. So we're going to do apt install, and I'm going to install the nano editor. I'm going to install git curl wget open ssh-server, and then I'm going to put a -y out there at the end, so it'll just kind of go ahead and run and install those things for me real quick without asking. And I'm just going to reboot this server real quick, just to let all those things really kick in and take effect. It's probably not really necessary with this container, but just in case. I'll kill that off, and we'll go back here. And let me just look and see what IP address that container got. It got 151. It looked like it's probably already rebooted. So we'll go over to our terminal where y'all can see this a little bit better. I'll do SSH Brian at. And I already have that one in the system, so I just got to tell it it's okay. So highlight that command right there, get rid of it, and try again. Yes. So yes, and I'm going to put in my password, and we are in. So now we're going to go back to this instruction page that they've got, and it's going to let us know, like, hey, you're going to need some Newt stuff. So it tells you about the things that we already set up, the admin user setup, security settings, email configuration, everything you're going to need for that. And then if you want to do the Docker installation, you can do it that way. It's going to run the Docker installation on its own, so you don't have to do anything there. What it's going to do for the container employment, and then post installation, and it's like system mode accessible. If you configure domain, you can log in. So we did that, but we also need to go and grab Newt so that we actually can get connected to it. Let me search Newt right here. Let's go and click on Newt, and we're going to do install. So again, they've got some great information for us here, but we're going to grab this wget command right here, and we're going to copy that, and we're just going to go over to our container terminal here and paste in that command. And it goes and grabs that Newt command, and it just puts it right here for us. So if we were to run /Newt, it would say, okay, what do you want me to do? And it's going to tell us like, hey, there's no supported protocol, because we haven't typed in all of the command parameters that it needs. And what's going to happen is Pangolin is actually going to give us the command parameters that we need. So let's Control-C out of that, so it'll stop trying to connect because it's not going to work. We're going to go back to our Pangolin server now, because we've got this thing ready. And we're going to tell it, hey, I want to create a new site. And that's that node that we just created. So let's just call this home ingress, just like I had before. We're going to go down here, and you see it's already got Newt tunnel, and it says recommended. That's already checked. We could check one of these others if you want to learn how to set that up, but I like that it's already kind of ready. We went to the trouble to install Newt anyways. So right here it says, hey, this is where it's got to point to. This is what it's going to do, and it tells you should copy these things because you're going to need them later on. So it's good for you to go ahead and just grab all of this information. In fact, this one you need to do a copy with the little copy command there, and put that somewhere and save it. In this case, I don't need to have it this time, but it's letting you know like, hey, you need to really do this, and you need to check the box that says, yes, I've saved it. Even though I haven't, you should save it. You really should save it, okay? It's going to be important down the road. Once we've done that, it's going to ask you what system are you going to install Newt on, or what system did you install Newt on? So we're going to say Linux, or you could do Docker. You could do Podman. You can do Mac OS, Windows, or FreeBSD, so they cover a lot of them. What architecture is your system running? Is it a Raspberry Pi? It's going to be maybe an ARM64, an ARM-v7, something like that. So it's up to you to kind of understand those things, but in my case, it's AMD64. And then right here, they're going to give me this command, which is the command I just ran to install Newt. So if you didn't install it already, this will run it all at once, and then it'll change that permission for you. But what we need is this /Newt ID. We need this whole thing right here. We're going to copy that much of that line. So I'm going to do Control-C. I'm going to go back over here. I'm going to do Control-V, or actually Shift-Control-V. And this says, hey, we're going to use this ID. We're going to use this secret key that it gives us. So this is kind of the private key, so don't worry that you can see it. Again, I'm going to destroy this afterwards. And then it's going to point to my proxy, sysmainit.com. So it's got everything set, and it's going to run that with the Newt command. So we're just going to do this. Oh, and what's happening is I didn't tell it to go ahead and create the site. Let me go do that. We need to click on this button, Create Site. So now that the site is created, if we go back, it should be able to work. It's going to try in 10 seconds. There it goes. So now it's connected, and it's starting this ping check. And there's my ping latency, 159 milliseconds. So it'll do this ping check every little bit. But now I've got this connection back to my server, which is amazing. So this thing's connected. The problem is, if I try to get out of this, it disconnects. So this is no longer connected to my server, and I don't have Newt running. So what I need to do is I need to set up a service. And in Ubuntu, and anything running systemd, this is pretty straightforward. So we're going to do a couple of things. First, we're going to set up our systemd service file. So we're just going to do nano newt.service. And what this is I'm going to open the nano editor, and I'm going to create a file called newt.service. Okay. I'm going to go over here, and I'm just going to grab the stuff that I've already got kind of bookmarked to make this easier, just so you don't have to watch me type all this stuff, and we'll go through it here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create this unit, which is the description is called Newt VPN client. It's going to say after the network is up and running. So that's what this network.target means. It says after it's up and running, we're going to run this service, and it's going to run it from user local bin Newt. So right now I've got Newt in home of Brian Newt, so I want to move that file in a minute. And then it's going to run this old server system that I've got. So I need to replace that real quick. So I'm going to go right up here, and I'm going to go back to the end of this line right here, and I'm just going to start deleting all of this stuff out. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to save this, Control O, press Enter, exit with Control X. I'm going to hit the up arrow till I get back to this one that we did up here to connect in the first place. And I'm going to highlight from Newt on, right to the very end right there, Control Shift C to copy. And then I'm going to go back and hit nano Newt.service. I'm going to come down to this line right here at the very end, right after bin. I'm just going to do Control Shift V, and that pastes in my new command that I need with the updated information. So I've got that there. I'm going to do Control O to save that, just to make sure it stays saved. So what that says is, once the network target's up, I want you to run this command from this location. So we need to put it back in that location. And I want you to use this ID with this secret to that proxy, to that site, proxy.sysmainit.com. If it fails, just have it restart. The user is root. It's okay. Just let it do it as root because you're running this as a system thing anyways. It's got to run that way. Install is wanted by multi-user targets. So that means anybody on the system can actually have this run, or anytime the system comes up and running, it should run. Hope that makes sense. I know it's a lot, but this is how you create a service in systemd. So we're going to do Control O one more time just to save, Control X to exit. So we've got to move a couple of things. If we do an ls, we've got two files. We've got Newt, which is the program we want to run, and we've got Newt.service. And if we cat out Newt.service, remember, we need to put that in /usr/local/bin. So we're going to do move Newt to /user/local/bin. That's usr/local/bin. And we're going to put an in/ on that. So we're telling it, hey, we want to move this thing over there. Now, if we do that without sudo, it's going to fail because we don't have permissions to move it there. So we can just do up arrow, Control A, sudo right in front. And we're telling it, hey, move that to that location. And it's going to ask for our super user password. And now if we do an ls, Newt is not there anymore. The other thing we need to move is the Newt.service. So we're going to do sudo mv Newt.service to /etc/systemd/system, and then an n/. Everything should be in place. We've got everything set up the way that we need it to be. So now we're going to start and enable our service so that it will run automatically in the background. It'll restart on its own if the machine restarts. Everything should be good. So we're going to do sudo systemctl space start Newt.service. It should come back with no feedback. It's just going to say, yep, okay. And then we're going to do sudo systemctl enable Newt.service. And that was going to come back and say, hey, it's creating a symlink, which is good. And now if we do sudo systemctl status Newt.service, it should tell us that it's active, and we can see the record over here that it's already run the ping, so it's checking for the ping latency. So we can see that we've got that running. So we can hit Q to get out of that. And we've got Newt up and running, which is awesome. So it's connected. We've got our site running, so our home ingress site is already running right here, and it's enabled. Okay. Now we want to go create a resource. So what do we want it to feed whenever we want to see something? So we can just use that same server, that readx server. So if I go grab that information from readx, let's see, it should be right here. Let me see, it's on this server. No, it's on this server, sorry. If I go in here and I scroll to the bottom, it's going to be at 192.168.10.171. That is a private IP address inside of my local network, and I believe it runs on port 8010, so we'll give that a shot and see if that comes up for us, okay? So we're going to go here, we're going to create a new service. I'm going to call this readx, like that. We're going to use the site for home ingress. If you have multiple sites, you'll get to pick, but since we don't, it's just going to auto pick it for us. And we're going to set it up as an HTTPS resource. You have the option for a TCP UDP resource if you just want to use it by IP, but in our case, we want to use it as an HTTPS resource. Right here, we're going to say, what kind of domain are we going to do? We're going to do a subdomain, and we're just going to call that, let's just to prove that it's a different site, I'm just going to call it deck.sysmainit.com, and we're just going to hit this little red button. It's going to go, okay, you've got deck.sysmainit.com, but where should that point? So we're going to tell it, hey, we want you to point at this particular IP address, which was the 192.168.10.171 in my case. And right here I'm going to do 8010, I believe is the port. And we're going to say add target. This target is now enabled. And we're going to say save. So we should have everything. I don't think we need this other target. Yeah, that's good. Should be there and it should be running. So we should be able to click on this. And it comes up and it asks us for our read deck credentials, which is what we want. Now, if we go back here, there's a couple of things to take note of. So let me kind of take you through this. In fact, we'll go back to the resources page. You can see here's our resources page, and we can click here and get to the same thing, and you can see that it's protected right now. So right now it's going to have authentication in front of it beyond the authentication that's built into read deck. We don't need that. So we can go in here and say edit. And let's see, it says protected right there. So we can go down here and it's got enabled, which is the site is enabled, I believe. And yeah, secure connection configuration. Yes, we want SSL, so it went and got that for us. Additional proxy settings we don't need. Somewhere we can turn off the, oh, right here. So it's got tabs, apologies. So we've got general, we've got, it's on, it's enabled. We've got the proxy. We've got authentication. So right here, this is turned on, which says use the Pangolin SSO to let me through to that site. It's only letting me through directly because I'm the admin for Pangolin. But if I added any other users to Pangolin, it would prompt them, one, to log in with their Pangolin credentials and then take them to the login page for read deck. So I can just turn this off if I don't want that to happen because it's already got credentials and save that. Okay, so just be aware. If you're getting double requests for logins and one is Pangolin and you don't want that, you need to come in here to the authentication tab and turn that off. Here are the authentication methods you can set up. So you can set up password protection disabled. You can set up pins. You can enable those things and set them up kind of however you want, or you can just say use the Pangolin built-in stuff, which is nice. It kind of builds out an SSO system for your home lab. You can also do one-time passwords. If you want to enable that, you can do that as well. And then finally, we've got rules. So you can set up rules for who are allowed to access the sites, when are they allowed to access the sites, what IPs are allowed to access the sites. So you're setting up a lot of really great features around your sites that you're self-hosting, around sites that maybe your business is self-hosting, and you're wanting to kind of keep out people who shouldn't be trying to get in there, and especially maybe from regions around the world where I know none of my people are going to be in Kazakhstan, so they don't need to be accessing it from Kazakhstan. I could block those IPs and so on. So you've got some really great rules around this as well, but it does make it really fast because now that we've set this up, to go in and add any more resources is just click the button, find the resource, and add a site for it. So if I just said jellyfin, and I said, yes, it's going to be home ingress, it's going to be an HTTP resource, and down here subdomain, so I'm just going to do jf.sysmainit.com. I'm going to say create. Now I'm going to give it the IP address of my Jellyfin server and the port number. And I'm going to tell it add. And then I'm going to say, let's see, we can go to our authentication. It's already got authentication, so I don't need that turned on. And I can go back to my proxy settings and I can save. Oh no, it didn't take it. So I shouldn't change tabs before I save. When I do save, and then we can go turn off the authentication, I guess. Yeah, so turn that off, save, because it's already got authentication built in. I can set up rules, all kinds of things. So again, if you want to just put something going, I mean, it's great. So I've got JF set up. So if I go back to my resources list, I can have two things. I've got deck and I've got JF. So if I click, no available server, what did I do? Maybe I typed something wrong. Let me see. Oh, I didn't add it. Golly, killing myself with this. So we need to hit add server, save. There we go. Now if we go back, we should have it. And there's my Jellyfin server. So I could access my Jellyfin server through jf.sysmainit.com. I could log in, I could see all my stuff, and I've got it going through a really nice reverse proxy, which is also tunneling from the outside of my network without me having to have anything open on my ports, which is awesome. So this is a really, really awesome thing. And for every service that I'm running, I can go through and just set that up really quick. I just need to make sure I click the buttons correctly. So I mean, I've got all these really, really cool things that I can do, and it makes it so easy to add your services here. And then if I don't want people accessing them or I'm worried about it, I can just go here, and now I can't access that anymore. It's disabled. If I go there, oh, it should be disabled. There we go. Yeah, so it's disabled. It just takes a second. Now I can re-enable it, and I can get back to it. Let's just prove that it really is doing what we think. We'll close that because I don't want it to be cached. And then we'll disable it. We'll disable that one too, just to be sure. Let's try. It doesn't work. That's great. And this one doesn't work. That's great. So you've got a lot of control right here. You can just disable and re-enable these things, which is awesome. You got to wait a second just for it to kind of say, okay, yeah, you want to get through. There it is. So it has to update the server at the tunnel. The server has to update the Newt client, I'm sure, which takes just a second. But yeah, there you go. Pangolin, I mean, an absolutely amazing tool for getting some really, really cool stuff set up and running. I will show you quickly the settings. So there's not a lot. Here's your organizational settings. You've got the danger zone where you can delete it. And then the server admin side, same thing. You've got users where you can manage users if you need to, API keys to manage that. We've got identity providers. So it uses the built-in identity provider for Pangolin, but you can add your own. So you can use Authentic, Authelia, Keycloak, whatever identity provider you're using, you can go in here and add that and use OIDC through your already existing identity provider. So on my production version, I will probably go add my Authentic server so I can log in that way. And then again, we talk about the license early on, but they do support the project through this license and full supporter. This is just a supporter. You're just saying, I support the project. I like it a lot. It doesn't change what you have access to in the software. It's just for you to say, man, this is great. I really want to help keep this thing going. And I think it's awesome. So it takes out a lot of steps and it makes it really easy. All we did was set up a server, set up a little server inside of our network, install 2 programs, and then started making connections to all of our services that we're already running. I think it's really cool. Hope you guys enjoyed this. I'm going to have show notes written up over at wiki.opensourceisawesome.com. The link will be down in the description. Make sure to go check it out, and I'll have very detailed instructions for you to follow. If you like this, get out there and support these guys. Make sure they know that you like it as well, and thank you so much. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. Make sure to subscribe. Tell your friends about it so they can come along in the open source journey with us, and I'll talk to you next time.